This is Silent Seniors No More, Season 2. I'd like to dedicate this new season to everyone who has ever felt invisible, to everyone who has ever wondered if their voice still mattered, and to every fellow traveler who is discovering that it's never too late to begin a new journey. This season is for you. The mirror doesn't lie, but sometimes we do. The stories we tell ourselves become the lives we live. Wherever you are on your journey, whether you're beginning to ask questions or you've been standing up for what's right for years, you belong here. I'm Jaime Ciarla, and this is Silent Seniors No More, where knowledge becomes confidence, confidence creates courage, and courage creates change. Today's journey begins with one single question. What if the biggest obstacle standing in your way isn't another person, but the story you've been telling yourself? Have you ever stood in front of the mirror, not to comb your hair, not to put on makeup, not to straighten your shirt, but really looked? A mirror is an interesting thing. It never lies. It simply reflects what is standing in front of it. But our minds, well, that's something not nearly as honest. Our minds have a way of replaying the same thoughts over and over until we accept them as facts. Have you ever heard yourself say, "It's just the way things are. I don't want to make waves. Nothing will ever change. Someone else will take care of it. I'm too old. What's the point?" Maybe you've said one of these things. Maybe you've said them all. I know I have. The problem isn't saying those words once. The problem is saying them so many times that we begin to believe them. And once we believe them, they quietly become the walls of the prison we built ourselves. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." When I first heard that quote years ago, I thought it was about success. Now, I think it's about something much bigger. It's about permission. Permission to believe that tomorrow can be different from today. Permission to ask one question. Permission to learn one new thing. Permission to discover that maybe, just maybe, you've been stronger all along than you gave yourself credit for. Over the past year, I've had the privilege of meeting so many wonderful people, people who've worked hard all their lives, raised family, served their country, built businesses, volunteered in their communities, people who have spent decades helping others. Yet I've noticed something. Somewhere along the way, many stopped believing in themselves, not because they suddenly became weak, but because life has a way of whispering, "Don't bother. Nobody's listening. You'll never win. Just keep your head down." At first, those whispers come from outside, but after enough time, they begin coming from inside. And that's the dangerous part. Because when someone else tells you that you don't matter, you can choose not to believe them. But when you start telling yourself, that's when hope quietly begins to disappear. One of the greatest lessons I've learned is this: fear doesn't always arrive with flashing lights and loud voices. Sometimes fear is incredibly polite. It simply asks you to stay comfortable. Don't ask, don't question, don't volunteer, don't speak, don't try. Just stay where you are. It sounds safe, but over time, safe becomes small, and small becomes lonely. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you surprised yourself? When was the last time you learned something completely new? When was the last time you stood up, not because you knew you could win, but because you knew it was the right thing to do? Those moments don't belong only to young people. In fact, I believe experience gives us something youth can never buy: perspective, wisdom, patience, compassion. The courage that comes from having lived through storms and discovering I made it. Maybe that's why I started Silent Seniors No More. Not because I have all the answers. I don't. Not because I'm fearless. I'm not. I started it because I got tired of seeing good people convince themselves that their voices no longer matter. They do. Yours does. Maybe not because you can shout the loudest, but because you've lived, you've learned, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. So here's my question. What story have you been telling yourself? That you're too old? That nobody cares? That nothing ever changes? Now let me ask you a second question. Who told you that? And are you absolutely sure they were right? Maybe, just maybe, it's time to write a new story. One that begins with, I am willing to learn. I am willing to ask. I am willing to believe. Because every great journey begins with one new thought. This week, pay attention to the conversation happening inside your own mind. Every time you catch yourself saying, I can't, I'm too old, it won't matter, pause, smile, and replace it with this: I don't know what's possible yet. Sometimes changing one sentence changes an entire life. If today's episode made you stop and think, then it has already served its purpose. That's exactly why Silent Seniors No More exists. Our podcast is only one piece of the journey. Our website, you'll find resources, articles, and opportunities to share your own story. Every voice matters, and every story has the power to help someone else. Our Silent Seniors No More Residents' Right Handbook is currently being written in plain English because understanding your rights doesn't require a law degree. When it's complete, it will become another resource designed to educate, encourage, and empower residents throughout Florida. As we continue to grow through our website, community events, and radio conversations, our mission remains the same: to educate, to encourage, to empower, one resident at a time. Because knowledge creates confidence, confidence creates courage, and courage creates change. Together, we're making sure that no senior ever has to suffer in silence. Silent Seniors No More is an educational and informative broadcast created to promote awareness of issues affecting residents of Florida's manufactured home communities. The information shared reflects personal experiences, publicly available information, and general educational discussion. It is not intended as legal advice and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Laws and individual circumstances vary, so listeners should consult a qualified attorney regarding their specific legal questions. Our mission is to educate, encourage, and empower residents through knowledge, respectful dialogue, and community awareness. I'm Jaime Ciarla, Thank you, fellow travelers, for spending a little time with me today. Until next time, keep moving forward, one step, one question, and one act of courage at a time. And you can't change yesterday, but you can change the story you tell yourself about tomorrow.